Greetings, traveler. Do you have a quest? Rescuing a princess? I haven't seen any princesses, but don't lose hope, friend. Anyway, it's good to have a quest. Would you like to know what my quest is? Excellent. My quest is to invade the castle to the east, defeat its guardians, and slay the dragon. Castles must be invaded, and dragons must be slain, mustn't they? Getting into the castle is a different story. There's a bridge to it, but it's missing bits. There's another way in, but it's not easy. I saw a passage beneath the fortress you just emerged from. Perhaps it leads through to a village of sorts? There was a shortcut that connected the beach to the village, but it's been barred. Perhaps you can unlock it. I've heard something about a jester. The jester knows a way to get into places no one else can. It's easy to claim something, but until you can actually back up your claims, you're just a rumor monger. Hey all and everyone, welcome back to the Eleventy-Three. Last episode we defeated our first boss, the Sodden Knight, and this episode we're moving onwards. That NPC is called the Masterless Knight, and he's going to be pretty important in this playthrough, so make sure you talk to him. Also, he's part of the Platinum Trophy run, and he will give us something important, or not important, but something very useful to us at the end of his quest line, so make sure you talk to him. In this episode, we got the Pauper set. It probably won't be that good, but if you want to use an axe, well, there you go. And coming up, there's another important weapon. The Self Bow. Now, the Self Bow is a Class 0 bow, and all Class 0 items, Class 0 swords, Class 0 axes, and including armor, are things that you do not have to invest in, so anybody can use it. And another thing to point out is that the Self Bow, I believe it's the only bow that you can pick up in the entire game. Not the only bow that you can acquire, this is the only bow that you can pick up normally without farming anything, so that's going to be pretty important, and I'm about to explain why. It's important because of stone NPCs. Now, briefly, I'll be discussing sanctuaries and creeds and the various things that you can do on them. If you're perceptive, you realize that there's a missing option to this sanctuary, the Devour of Light creed, and that is Make Offering. Unlike, back at the Shivering Shore, we could have done that. And the reason we can't do it here is because we are not part of this creed. We are part of the Three. And at the beginning of the game, if you decide not to go with the Three, then the old man will either decide if you're part of the Devour of Light or the Iron Ones. There are 7 creeds in total. Each one is unique, and they have their various benefits to them. If you do not want to worry about it through the game and just want it to be simple, efficient, the easiest one to do is the 3. That's not particularly the reason why I chose it, it's just because I wanted to get through it. I do know what creed this character will join in the end, and I do know what build she will have in the end. And when I say this character, I mean that I will be having multiple characters. And no, that doesn't mean that I'll be doing multiple playthroughs, but one single playthrough, and they're all going to be taking on various parts of the game. And I'm not showing this to show you the most efficient type of build for specific areas. It's just to show various types of gameplay that you can do in this game. This character, well, actually no, I don't want to spoil it. But there's another character who is going to be a personification of me in this game, who will have a scythe and use prayers, and another one who will be something of a mage, but mostly a huntress, I guess. And here I fast forwarded this footage because, well, there's nothing special here. Technically this is an optional area because we cannot advance. We have to make a quick detour, so I just decided to somewhat skip it, but show you something in particular at the end. And there's an item that you can get. It's not that big of a deal, but you know. But back to stone NPCs, there are 7 in total. That is the Merchant, Blacksmith, Cleric, Mage, Sellsword, Alchemist, and finally the Leader. You can pretty much guess what the Merchant does. They sell you items, and at the beginning of the game, they're not that unique. Each creed sells pretty much the same items at the start, but later on as you progress that creed, they get more unique. The Blacksmith, I'll go over in more detail later on in this episode. The Cleric, there was actually a Cleric at the Devar of Light creed that we were just at, and if you were part of that creed, then he would have sold you prayers, and likewise the Mage does the same. The Sellsword is how you enable co-op, and I'm about to interrupt myself here.
Well, well, well. Looks like this is the end of the road for you, friend. If memory serves me right, the obelisk here is your door into the castle. The key, however, now that's a different story. Perhaps you should search the area below, the seaside ruins where our forgotten feast festers. I think it always helps to go back to the start. But you started off this island. Can't go back there, can you?
We've been seeing these obelisks for a while now, and eventually we'll be able to do something about them. But for now, let's just continue talking about stone NPCs. And the Sellsword. Actually, if you wanted to, you could have gotten it as a starting item. You know, if you wanted to start co-op as soon as possible. And you can do some pretty crazy things in co-op. It's a bit overpowered in this game. It's still fun, but later on, it can be a bit overpowered. Probably the most important stone NPCs are the Alchemist and the Leader. What the Alchemist does is that they transmute items, and that basically means that they get one class weapon, and then they change it to another. Well, what do you mean by that? Okay, the last video when we defeated the Sodden Knight, we picked up his ashes. Let's say that we got a greatsword and wanted to transmute that. Because we have his ashes, we can give that to the Alchemist, and we can get his greatsword, and that's basically how that goes. Now, I remember a long time ago when I first played this game, and I summoned a Stone Leader. I looked at the Stone Leader, I talked to the Stone Leader, I'm like, what do you do? And basically I beat the game without ever figuring out what a Stone Leader did. And later on, when I found out, it was probably one of the most dumbfounding feelings I ever had in my life. Basically, Stone Leaders are what makes each creed unique. But I'll have to put that off for a second. Hello, friend. Trinkets to sell, trinkets for coin. Friend, I'm so happy you came along. I've got other things. Trinkets and such. Trinkets for gold, that's what I've got. Trinkets for coin. How'd you end up here? I stowed away. Sold trinkets and tiny beer. Trinkets for coin. So poor though. Talk of wealth and kahi, even beggars like me have got manservants there, they say. Stowed away, sailed, then let's storm. Imagine the surprise on those sailors' faces, seeing the likes of me on the wreckage there with all them honest men. All of us, floating in the sea, clinging to planks, shivering in the icy cold. Not sure how many of the others made it to the shore. That shivering shore. But the trinkets I find here, they do sell, they do. Doing quite nicely I am. Soon enough I'll be able to buy my escape. Somehow. Interesting bit of dialogue that we just got from this NPC, and I'll have to elaborate more on a later episode. But this NPC is actually really important, not in terms of story, but in terms of gameplay, and we'll be seeing a lot of him in the not too far distant future. The reason he's important is because, if you've noticed, he's selling a lock of hair, and that's basically your upgrade material, to get it to +1 and +2 at least. After that, you would need the next item within that cycle to upgrade it further, and the max level is 7. Right now, I don't particularly feel that there's a need to upgrade your weapons or armor at the moment, but eventually it'll be real easy, or at least simple, to get most of your equipment at least to +2. at most +4. But finally back to stone leaders. Essentially, they level up your creed. And basically, the higher the level of that creed, or the higher affinity you have for that creed, however the game explains it, the more that creed will do for you. Like merchants and blacksmiths will sell you more items, clerics and mages will have more spells to give you, more incantations and whatnot. But most importantly, leaders will give you a special item along with that level up. All creeds have a potion or a magic potion, and a magic potion will basically recover both your focus, which is the white bar if you've been wondering what that was, and recovers some fatigue for your stamina bar. But more than that, there are two special, usually unique items that you also gain for that specific creed, such as the three. The three, you can either gain Imperial Pitchfire or Imperial Shockstone. I believe that's the name of it. Pitchfire will enchant your weapon with fire, and Shockstone will enchant it with lightning. Now, the items themselves aren't unique. You can find Pitchfire and Shockstone in the game. So why would you waste a level just to get one item? Well, actually, they recover every time you rest at that sanctuary. And this is one of the reasons why I said that a mini sanctuary is sometimes better than a big sanctuary. The reason for that is because if you go to a sanctuary where there's another creed, you will not recover those items. But a mini sanctuary will always recover those items for you, regardless of what creed you are. And that's useful if you're playing co-op and both of you have different creeds, and you don't want to, quote-unquote, mess it up. But I'll have to explain more about creeds in a newer video. Probably a future episode, most likely an extras video that I plan to do alongside this series. But I'd like to apologize if you feel that my commentary is a bit indifferent towards the gameplay. The reason for that is because I'm trying to get things out of the way as soon as possible. Until a certain point in the game, that is when my commentary will be more in sync. Basically, it's the part in the game where it stops being linear. And here, there's already a Sanctuary of the Three. And you could take an oath here, just like I could have taken an oath to the Devourer of Light. But I don't feel like there's a reason to, this early in the game. Oh, and right here, you just picked up the Blacksmith set. There are certain equipment that boost certain stats. For the Blacksmith gloves, they increase your strength. I believe it's 2, probably 3. And here, more importantly, it is the Kureimoa. Kureimoa. Like the self bow that we picked up earlier, that is the only great sword that you'll ever be able to pick up in the game. Certain creeds do sell it, so there's that, but for now, treat it like it's your baby. Treat it like you'll never see it again. And that thing is a good weapon. Unlike the self bow, it is a class 1 great sword, so you do have to invest in swords if you want to use it, but it's worth it. It's just 1 point, you get an extra piece of strength. Even if you're a mage, it may still be useful, you'll never know. All in all, it's a really good weapon, and if you ever get stuck by a boss, a very frustratingly annoying boss, like a boss that we'll be fighting in probably 5, maybe 4 episodes, it's really good to fall back on.
Curiosity. What creature persists in the face of such suffocating despair? The others have begun to kneel. Will it join them? Such a brave, foolish curiosity. It will struggle then, and it will bleed, and it will fall. And one day when it finds itself beaten and broken, grasping for air, choking on its own blood and tears, that will be the day that it kneels. And I shall consume it.
Oh, so you're just gonna move straight to Ellipsis, huh? Well, he's probably not gonna be an important NPC later on. So let's just continue here. I don't know why that jump cut it the way that it did. But if you notice, I'm using the spear now. You've probably seen me use some cool tricks. There's actually a combo system in this game, and that's another thing that I'll be going over probably in a future episode, probably in an extras video. This area, by the way, is just completely littered with traps, if you haven't noticed from the very first moment we entered here. And these enemies are pretty relentless too. One thing that I didn't notice about the spear until a little too late is that it doesn't have as much poise damage. In this game they call it balance, but basically the ability to interrupt an enemy, and spears, they lack in that type of destructive power. And below here we find another bronze knight, and I'll be switching to the mace here after I drink some red shards. Wow, she's thirsty. But those enemies are actually really easy to defeat if you have a mace, because all you have to end up doing is just parry them once, and then as they're getting up, you hold the heavy attack button, which is either Y or triangle depending on what game you are, or I don't know what the keyboard uses. And then after that, you can just go for a finisher. And one thing that you've probably seen me do a couple of times but never talk about are the hidden walls in this game. Basically, you just go up to the wall and press circle, and then right there you can just open it up. And there we picked up the wrapped ring. It increases your rolling speed, but I rarely use it because I never knew if it also decreases the iframes that you get from it. I'll probably have to look more into that later on. Oh my gosh, I forgot about the stone guide. Basically, stone guides are what you use to go to and from other sanctuaries. You can buy a horn from them, and you can go directly to them, and then there you can travel to any sanctuary that you visited before. You can also return with bells, but whatever, we're getting to a boss, let's just get into it. The cruel Wrath Queen of Livin. She loved to adorn her city walls with the grotesquely smiling corpses of her victims, and like she wielded the fabled sword of rain and an undeaf, she was 1,000 more. Ladies and gentlemen, the Queen of Smiles. By the way, we already took off a third of her health, and I don't know if that's my character, I don't know if that's the spear, or the blessed page that we use, but we're just melting her health. Figuratively, of course. And I know I gave the Sodden Knight a 7 out of 10 in the last video, but you gotta understand the context in which I rate these difficulties. The Sodden Knight is challenging, and that's basically just understanding the boss itself, dodging whenever you can, yada yada yada. Whereas this, I feel that this boss, the Queen of Smiles, is technical. It's more RNG based, and the key, if you want a higher chance of survival, is blocking. When you dodge and you feel that you're going to get attacked anyway, hold that L2 or left trigger or whatever mouse button you have. But this boss was a lot easier than I first anticipated, and we're about to kill her, and up. Well, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Have a good one.